Hello! Welcome back to the science section of N.E.S.T Kids. Today we're going to be looking at numbers, and not just any ordinary numbers, a special type called Fibonacci numbers. It's a very long word, so I'll say it again. Fibonacci numbers. What are Fibonacci numbers? And are they even important? Let's find out. So, how can we make a Fibonacci sequence, and what is it? You might be wondering why there are some raisins here, but I'm going to use them to help us explain Fibonacci numbers. So, if the first number in our sequence is 0, we have no raisins to represent that. I'll put a little arrow here to show where the raisins should be. The next number is 1, isn't it? 0, 1. So let's put 1 raisin there. When we're trying to work out our next number, we have to add the last two numbers together. 0 raisins plus 1 raisin equals 1 raisin. So let's put 1 there. Now, when we're trying to work out the next number, we have to add together the last two. So the last two numbers in the sequence, oh dear, I've just made a little mistake. The last two numbers in the sequence are 1 and 1. And you all know 1 plus 1 is 2. So the next number is 2. So let's put 2 raisins there. Right, see if you can work out the next number. 1, 2, 3 is 3. So our Fibonacci sequence starts like this. 0, 1, 1, 2, 3. It seems a bit funny, doesn't it? But as we continue, it changes. Here we are, so there's 3. Shall we try and see what comes next? Okay, let's put it down here. So the last two numbers in the sequence, 2 and 3, added together 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the next number is 5. Oh, let's put 5 raisins there. Should we just move these over there out of the way? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wonderful. What do you think the next number is? You can count the raisins, or you can just add up the last two. So 5 plus 3 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8. I'll just put the number of raisins in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, they got stuck together. So we've got actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right, this sequence can go on, and we don't need to use the raisins for all of them. So if we just think about adding the next two numbers together, we can work out what comes next. So let's add together the last two numbers. 5 plus 8 equals 13. 8 plus 13 equals 21. 13 plus 21 equals 34. And 21 plus 34 equals 55. Well, I don't have 55 raisins, so you will have to just use the sum to work it out. But can you see how very quickly we started with little numbers 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, and look how quickly we've come up to a really big number, 55. 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, just by adding together the last two numbers to make the next one. Well, I hope you enjoyed learning about the Fibonacci number sequence. I've got the sequence here that we learned earlier. But why is the Fibonacci sequence so interesting? Well, one thing that scientists don't quite understand is that in nature, in the plants and in the trees that we see outside, we can often see these numbers occurring with different things. Maybe the number of petals of a flower, or maybe they influence the angles at which branches grow or seeds grow. I've got a few examples that we can try and see if they fit the Fibonacci sequence. Shall we have a go? So the first flower that I have is this flower. It's called fireweed and it was originally from Madagascar, but it's very common and you might see it growing on the edge of pavements. But how many petals are there? Can you count? Or can you see how many are there? There are actually 13. Was 13 in the Fibonacci sequence? Shall we have a look? Here it is. Yes, 13 was in the Fibonacci sequence. This is an example of a Fibonacci flower. Shall we have a look at some more? Here's another flower. This is called Weigela. Shall we try and count the petals? This one is a bit more tricky. Let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 petals on each Weigela flower. Was 5 in the Fibonacci sequence? Shall we have a look? Yes. So this flower also shows Fibonacci sequence. This is a type of poppy. I'm going to hold it close and see if you can count the petals. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Was 4 a Fibonacci number? No, it wasn't. So this flower doesn't show the Fibonacci sequence. Let's look at one more to see. This is called a dog rose and is very common to see on the edge of paths and in hedges. Let's try and count the flowers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this has 5 petals and 5 is a Fibonacci number. So we can see that not all flowers have the number of petals in our Fibonacci sequence, but very often they do. So next time you are outside, if you see a flower, why not go over and try and count the number of petals and see if it fits with the Fibonacci sequence? Well, I hope you enjoyed watching today and learning about Fibonacci numbers. I'll see you next time in N.E.S.T Kids Science, and I hope you enjoyed it. Bye!
Good morning everyone, welcome back to another N.E.S.T video. I'm Jemima and today we're going to be talking about food. So we're going to be talking about different types of food, why we need to eat different types of food, what they do for our bodies and why they're good for us. So we're going to split the different foods into categories and talk about why we need each different thing that food can provide. So first of all, we're going to talk about protein. So protein is something which helps build up your muscles. So if you're doing exercise, it will help repair them afterwards and keep them strong. And it also helps keep blood healthy. It does lots of things. It's really important. Protein's really important. So you can find protein in all sorts of things. So examples I have here with me are chickpeas, beans. So these are red kidney beans, but any kind of bean has protein in. Also lentils, nuts, and there's also protein in meat and dairy. So you can find protein in lots of places. There's also small amounts of protein in vegetables like broccoli and spinach. So protein's really important. Next we're going to talk about carbohydrates. So carbohydrates provide you with energy, so they're more slow release energy. So you have some carbohydrates and it will give you energy for hours, for throughout the day. So that's something really important. So examples are potatoes, bread. I've got pasta as an example of carbohydrates. Can you think of any other examples of carbohydrates? Rice. That was my brother. Rice is also carbohydrates. So carbohydrates fill you up and keep you going through the rest of the day.
Hi.
There he is. Okay. And then we're going to talk about fat. So there's another one that's fat. So as it may sound, fat is, you can know what fat is. It's on you. It keeps you warm. It provides a layer around you, and it keeps you warm in the winter. And you need a certain level of fat on you, so that if you're when you're really hungry, then your body, instead of digesting food, will get the fat reserves on your body to keep you going. So fat can be found in all sorts of things. So nuts, butter, other dairy products, puddings, cake, all sorts of things. There's fat in everything. And so now we're going to talk about fruit and veg. So we know fruit and veg is important. I'm sure you'll have been told, also by me when you've been at the breakfast bar, at a N.E.S.T session, a community session, to please try and have some fruit rather than just donuts. But fruit and veg is really important. So examples I've got here is a pepper and I've got a courgette. So courgettes I think are growing in season at the moment, I think. Don't quote me on that, but I think they are. So fruit and vegetables like these are really important, because they contain lots of different things. So one of the big things that fruit and veg contain is something called fibre. And fibre is something in food which is really good for your gut, for your intestines, which are all down here. It helps with your digestion, so how your body processes food. And that's really important because it helps you poo better. So if you don't have much fibre in your food, in what you're eating, then you won't be able to poo very well. So it's very important, and fibre also helps get all the nutrients out, helps your gut get all the nutrients out of the food that you're eating. There's also so many different things in fruit and vegetables. So there's a lot of different vitamins. So there's vitamin C, which is I think in citrus fruits, so things like lemons and oranges. There's calcium. So there's calcium in lots of different foods. So for example, spinach has a fair amount of calcium in it. And the calcium is really important for your bones, so it'll help keep your bones nice and strong. You'll probably hear a lot about calcium from milk, like when people say that milk has a lot of calcium, which it does. But calcium is really easy to find. It's in lots of fruit and veg. It's also in other things like chickpeas and beans. So it's not just in milk, it's in lots of different foods. And it's the same with protein. So protein is also found in some vegetables, as we mentioned earlier. And things like potassium is in bananas. So when you're having bananas, you've got lots of potassium. So those fruit and veg aren't just important because they're fruit and veg. They're important because they have so many different things that will help keep you healthy. And so next up we're going to talk about sugar. So it's kind of like carbohydrates, except sugars they give you energy, as you guys probably know, when you've had some sweets or chocolate and you get hyper, that's the sugar. So sugar is quick release energy rather than the slow release energy that carbohydrates have. So that's why when you have some sweets, you'll get a massive burst of energy, but you may not have that energy sustained for very long, and you may get a bit tired afterwards. So there is some really healthy sugar as well. So there's lots of healthy sugar in fruit, things like apples. That's why apples are quite sweet, so they've got quite a lot of sugar in them. Also fruits like peaches, nectarines, plums, there's lots of sugar in those as well. And you need to make sure you have a balance of sugar, but it's all good. There's also other vitamins, like vitamin D. So vitamin D is most well known for coming from the sun. So if you go outside, particularly at the moment with your daily walks, and just make sure you're going outside into the sun, you'll get some vitamin D. That's really important for lots of different things. But vitamin D is also present in things like fish, and there's lots of other things as well. So next time you're having some food or in a supermarket or watching a parent or guardian cook, then you can look at what kind of things that you're eating and say, and try and identify where the protein is, where there's carbohydrates, what the fruit and veg are, and you can see what is in what you're eating. So I find it really interesting. So yeah, that's all from me for today. We will see you in the next video. Okay.